So, I am recording. Okay, so we get to our folder, we open our Word document with our entity relationship diagram. We need to see this at all times while we're writing code. It's going to be very difficult to do your PAT if you don't have a copy of your fields, your column headings. You'll make your life very difficult if you don't have this in front of you, some form. Obviously we open our program and make sure we have our data module open as well, just so that we can be reminded, or if we have to reconnect again. Often when you open Delphi, you'll find that you have to reconnect this connection component here with the connection string property over there. So you have to build the string again and then connect to it again and test the connection and so on. You might have to do that, and then you go back to the ADO table components and make the active property true. But of course the query component you do not touch. All you do is connect it to the con messages, and we've already done that. So we're on edit message. We went from TBS home. This button was supposed to go to that TBS edit message. And then we connected to the table and set the grid column widths. Set grid column widths, the DV grid. Now, in edit message, we have this combo box that has to be filled. In other words, we are editing the message. Here's the table, the one side. I'm editing. Now, I might decide I want to change the original, change the date sent, change the delivered option, whether it's delivered or not. Change the number of letters. In order to change original, we do have to go and encrypt it again. So we can use some advanced programming, which is not in the grade 11 syllabus, to do that, just to make our lives easier. The date sent is easy to change, delivered is easy to change, number of letters, well, that will just be the length of the original. So when we change the original, we're going to have to change the number of letters and encrypted. So the only options we need to have in our second combo box over here is date sent, original, date sent, and delivered. So we know now it's going to be quite complex programming if we're going to change our original sentence. And because then we have to go and encrypt it again and put that in there and the number of letters. But the date sent won't be difficult to change and deliver. So we only have three options: original, date sent, and delivered. If we're going to change original, like I said, I have to go and encrypt it again and count the number of letters. So this is the combo box, and I'm going to go to the items. Remember, this one is going to hold the message that we're going to change, and you've got to put a label here saying choose your message to change, and then this one is going to be what we want to change about it. So over here we're going to put in the items manually before runtime. And I already did put something in there. I don't have to do the number of characters. So my original message, I want to change it. Do I want to change the date sent? Do I want to change whether it's delivered or not? And we click OK. Now this is where we can make use of visible components or invisible components. For delivered, we could have a checkbox. Now delivered is the easiest one. I can put a checkbox on the form, make it invisible, and then set it to visible when the person chooses that option. So that's one way to deal with the checkbox, and also with the date. Because remember, we had a date that we had to set up. Now I'm just going to make my page, I have to make my page control wider so that I can actually see stuff. I cannot get a calendar on here. Won't fit. We can do a date time picker too, but I'd rather just have the calendar. Anyway, we need a checkbox for the just type check, put a checkbox in here, and this is going to be the one that, that's in the wrong place, sorry, I'm in edit message. Right, checkbox. Going to put it on here somewhere. Because guys, you have to fix up your page. I'm not good at designing. For the name property of this checkbox, I'm going to call it CBX new date. Oh wait, no. CBX delivered well, you know what? We don't have to do that. Because if we're going to change the delivered option, it's going to be the negative of what it is already inside here. Now, where's my delivered option? Can you see that false there? If we want to change that to true, all we do is say not. So no, I don't need a checkbox for delivered. That's another special case. But for the date, yes, we're going to have to put a date. That's the other easy one, date. So we've got to put in calendar, you search for calendar. And you've got a T month calendar and you have T calendar. I don't like T calendar, I'd rather have T month calendar, but it's up to you. There is another option, but anyway, I'm going to keep it to this one. Your job to investigate all the options. I'm sticking with the easiest ones. Right, so this is my calendar, and I'm going to call it OnChange. Change, something to that effect, and I'm going to make it invisible. So in other words, before runtime, I'll make the visible property false. And the only time it's going to get visible is if we choose to change the date sent. And of course, you've got to put messages that come up as well. Now, so I've sort of planned in my head, I'm going to deal with the delivered and the date sent. But when we change the actual message, the original one, we're going to have an issue where we have to go and encrypt it again and count the number of letters. Now, counting the number of letters is easy, but encrypting it again, there's a couple of ways we can do that. We go to our add message, and remember we wrote code before for this, because when we got an end message there, we actually encrypted it over here within our encrypt thing. That's where we left off last time. We were writing an encrypt function. I'm just going to make this larger so we can see everything. I'm not sure you can actually see here. So we have our encrypt function where we encrypted, and this is a very useful thing to have, writing your own function called encrypt. We put it up here, there it is, we put a header saying function, the word encrypt, and then in brackets we put in things that are coming in. inum, integer, and s-line string. Now what is inum? Why do we have inum as a parameter? Oh, that was the cipher. Yeah. Because we're supposed to have two ciphers, aren't we? Supposed to have two ciphers to choose from. So cipher 1 or cipher 2, just call them 1 or 2. You can call them 10 or 11 or A or B. But you can call them 1 or 2. So for cipher 1, then we see in our function, this is what code that we had in this button, but we moved it to a function because we know we had to use it again. So let's go and find that function. Obviously this is a bit of revision. So there's our function encrypt with inum and the s-line coming in. And the colon string, it's returning a string. And we basically put our function in here and said result equals that. Of course, for option number 2, for inum being 2, then you've got to put in a different cipher over here. This was the last lesson. And we've already been through that whole encryption of the string. But when we come to edit message, we're going to use that cipher again. I mean encrypt. We're going to use that function called encrypt. But we have to remember that it has 2 parameters, which is the integer first, which is the code, encryption code that we can use 1 or 2, and then a string, S-line. And like I said, this is grade 12 work, so if you get extra marks if you use a function. Otherwise, you just got to go and write the code all over again inside this edit button click. But we haven't filled our combo box yet, have we? When we navigate, we can do the OnShow. Didn't we do it in OnShow? We probably did it in OnShow. OnShow event is actually quite useful. An OnShow event of a what should I call it? Tab sheet is pretty useful because we can set up a whole lot of things in it. In OnShow, yeah, we've done that. We did the active true and false. We should probably do the set grid column widths too. In fact, we could use this with, instead of the button click, but sometimes, yeah. DB grid 2. So we did this code already to fill the combo box up with the original messages, so the user can see the actual message and choose one that they want to change. So that's the tricky part there. Now, once they've chosen that, then they must choose what they're going to change. So you could go back and look at the code for this. And then over here, we can decide what we want to change. And in the OnChange event, actually no, we're not going to use an OnChange event on either of these. My BT and edit button is going to get the string from here, CMB message to edit, get the string from this combo box, CMB choose one, and then decide what we're going to do with them. So over here, we're going to get a string from here, we're going to get a string from here, and in BT and edit, we can choose what we're going to do. Let's go and save our string. Right, so we have, where's our string? Where's our string? Near what? I've written a whole lot of messy code here, which is a bit nasty, don't you think? We need to go and get our things from the combo box. Oh no, we didn't put it in variables. That's okay. It's okay, we didn't put it in variables. We basically went straight through with a loop, going through the table called this table over here. So going through this table, looking for going through all the messages and see if the original equals to that combo box dot text. And we use the b found equals false Boolean flag so we can stop the loop, and you get extra marks for having good programming practice like this. You don't want to waste the processor's time, so we had a Boolean flag that is going to go get set to true as soon as we find our original message, which equals what came in over here. So basically we're just getting the primary key field. We want message ID. Not because we want to change the recipient, no. We want message ID so that we can go and get to the right row where we want to change all the other things. So if we find our original message, then we've got our ID, so there's our key field, we want that. And then we're going to stop the loop with our Boolean flag. And of course you've got to have .next and so on. Then we came to choosing our item index from this box here. So I had a case CMB choose one dot item index of 0. So if it's 0, we're going to enter our new message and encrypt and do all of that stuff. So we actually got to the point, yeah, we had an input, enter new message. Then we're going to go iCode, enter the cipher number. We asked them to enter cipher number 1 or 2. There was that as well. Look, these could also be edit boxes that are on the form. So you don't actually have to, an input box is a little bit messy, okay? So we're going to change this up. I'm not going to use input boxes here. No. I didn't like that when I first put it in anyway, because it's not a very good programming practice. What we can do instead, so if they choose that they want to put in an original message, okay, we don't have to worry about the changing. We've got our primary key we've got our primary key, message ID, that's what we wanted to get, the message that we want to delete, edit. And then we go and do the editing, but first we've got to, for each option, 0, 1, 2, or 3, actually, how many options do I have here? The combo box only has, let's see, my items, because remember it was only 3 items. So, and only 0, 1, or 2. I don't need this last number 3. So, there we go. Let's get rid of the semicolon before else. So we've only got 2 options. 3. 0, 1, and 2. So 0 is the most difficult one. But what I want to do is I want to actually get it from an edit box on the screen. So before runtime, let's go and put an edit box so that the user can type the new message in and choose the code, and we'll make them invisible. So let's go and put an edit box for them to choose to write their new code in. We're going to make it invisible, and then also a spin edit to choose, or we can use a checkbox. Okay, but I'm using a spin edit because my what's the name is my codes are either 1 or 2, and it's a parameter of my function has got an integer in it, so it's easier just to use the spin edit. And I'm going to call this SED. Very important to give its names. SED new code. And this one is going to be EDT new message. So I'll just do that. And they're going to both be invisible. So make the visible property false. So we make the visible property false for both of them. When do we change the visible property to true? That's the question. Well, in the OnChange event of this combo box. Okay, in the OnChange, we're going to go to our combo box, go to see OnChange. Can you see OnChange there? So we can double click. We click on the combo box, we go to OnChange, we double click inside this window over here. So when it changes, we can ask the question. If CMB choose one dot item index, if it equals to the number 0, and the item index is an integer, remember? Oh my word. Then we're going to set 2 things. We're going to set the EDT new message dot visible. We make that true. and the SED, yeah, but insert key, that's better. That toggling that insert key, and then the SED new code dot visible equals true. This is all very well, but what are we going to do when we finished using this edit box and so on? When we finished using this EDT new message and SED new code, we're going to have to set it to visible to false again. And when we finished using it, it's going to be when we finished making the changes. See, so that's the issue. So, in BT and edit, somewhere we're going to make the visible property false again. Same with the calendar. We made that visible property false, but when they chose an option in the combo box, we make the visible property true. So that is where we're going to go and put that in the OnChange event of CMB choose. We're going to make our calendar true. We're going to do the same for the calendar. So we're going to go back to OnChange event, because I forgot about that. I'll say else if CMB choose one.item index equals, what is the calendar? The date. In other words, changing the date. So we go to our items of our combo box. The items, and the date sent is item index number 1, because that's 0, that's 1. And remember, we're going to do something special with delivered. So let's go to the on, and then we're back in the OnChange event of the combo box. OnChange. If it's 1, then we're going to make the calendar visible. Cal change dot visible equals true. But of course, we must remember that we're going to have to set it to invisible again when we finished using it. So now in BT and edit, we're doing a whole lot of things, quite a lot of stuff. What we have done now, we get SNew from the EDT new message. So this is easy. And our code we're going to get from SED new code dot text. So we get our new code, because we've got to send our code and SNew to the function encrypt, and then we're going to make the changes. Now we have to keep our wits about us, because remember, if we're going to change the original, we have to change the encrypted, but also the number of letters. But that's going to be quite easy now. If message ID equals our ID, then all we do is go and put in our field headings that we want to change. So original is going to be SNew. Colon equals SNew. We're going to do a dot edit. I forgot about putting dot edit, guys. You can't go and say a field name equals something. You've got to say, you've got to put your TBL component in edit mode or insert mode. But in this case, we're using edit mode. And then after we've done it, we've got to say TBL message dot post. I know a lot of people forget to do those things. And this TBL message dot next is in the wrong place. It's in completely the wrong place. of course, we're going to have other fields over here to edit, to change, you know, the encrypted message, and then also the number of letters, which will be easy, it's just the length of S-new. But you can't put a tbr.message.next here. It's in the wrong place. Get it out of there quickly before anyone sees. It's over here. It's inside our loop. We're going from the next row to the next row to the next row. And take note, I've got a B found equals false story going down here. Why? Well, I don't want... What if there are thousands of rows in the database and the message is the first message in that table? Well, we don't want to waste processors' time. So set B found equal to true. Think of the processor as a human brain that has to work over time. So here we go now. We have our other fields that we're going to edit now, the encrypted one, and I'm doing this other one. And that's going to be equal to the result of that function. Remember, we used a function to go get it. Where is it? sencrypt. We use the function encrypt to go and get that encrypted version, which is super useful. And those of you who grasped that, now you've got some grade 12 stuff done already. You're not going to be examined on user-defined methods. We call it user-defined methods. You're not going to be examined on that in grade 11. And then we have NO of letters. You don't actually have to use capitals, but an NO of letters, you must know that it is an integer data type, and length returns an integer, so therefore that is done. Okay, next thing. We're now going to worry about our next options that they want to change. And we've done it. But hey, what about making those things invisible again? That might be a good idea, hey? Remember that this is the end of the while loop going through the text. Oh, man. End of while loop going through table. You've got to get comments everywhere, guys, not just the few that I've put in. You've got to put comments for every single line. And over here, what are we going to do? We're going to set the visible property of which ones? This one and this one. EDT new message and SED new code. EDT new message dot visible. You've got to make them invisible again. And SED right. So there we have it. And we finished that option. Number 0. For number 1, which is the, what is the number 1? The calendar, is it? I can't remember. I've got to go and check my items again. Date sent, calendar, yeah. That one's easy. We just say with DM do and then TBL first and so on. I'm going to copy and paste. Seriously, dude, I'm copying and pasting. Yeah, I'm going to copy and paste this. I'm going to copy and paste all of that into this one. I'm going to use the same, because remember, in the case structure, you're only going to use one of those options, either 0 or 1 or 2. They're not going to use all of them. For each button click event, they're only going to either use one of these three options, 0, 1 or 2. So here I'm using number 1. And if I find the same thing, then all I do say is date sent. I think it's called date sent. I don't know. We don't need these other two over here. I'll just use copy and paste. Date sent. I think it's the date sent field. Yeah, date sent field. Oh, crying out loud. There we go. Date sent equals date to string. That's what you do. Cal change dot date. So there's how you deal with the dates. I'll put it on a new line so you can see. And all I did was copy and paste the code so that I could, do that edit and post. Don't have to go through that whole loop again. I mean, we are using the loop again, but I'm not going to go through the logic of it again. Explained it once, and now we're going to just copy and paste it. And guess what? Oh, we also have to make the calendar. We're going to make the visible property change dot visible. We're going to make the calendar invisible again, just like we did with those others. And now I'm going to copy and paste again. I'm not going to use the visible property thingy. I'm copying and paste again because our last one is going to be about the delivered. Well, what is it going to be? Well, we can make a Boolean variable, okay, a bdel. We're going to make a Boolean variable called bdel in